Welcome to Life on Life's Terms, episode 47. It's me, Justin, and
it's Kenny.
We're going to get into the this is the last episode of Sober October. We're going to get into our experiences throughout the month. What were the biggest identifiable experiences that we had over the month through these challenges, and what we're going to carry on with after this month from the things that we initiated throughout this month for our Sober October challenges. So I encourage you to stick around and listen to what we're going to keep and what we're going to throw away if we're going to throw away anything. So how is your Monday going? Because we're recording this on Monday, but this is Thursday's show coming up.
It's really good so far. I went to sleep relatively early last night. I watched some, what's his name? Dan Pena.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of him, and I put on some Wayne Dyer, the movie The Shift.
Oh, yeah.
I got some good notes out of that. And then I passed out with a electric shock Dr. Ho thing on my back. And
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great night.
How, well, we'll get into your weekend, I guess, because this was your weekend when you were at the Star. I think everybody saw that on Instagram. And if you haven't, check out Kenny's Instagram at Kenny.
Kenny_Cantrell.
Yeah, because I think you did a little something before then.
Yeah, and I got a few more pictures and stuff. I just haven't posted them yet.
Okay, cool.
There was some cool stuff there. It was a beautiful place.
Yeah,
it
is nice.
Right away, I went and just walked around, and like it kind of felt like what's that old like horror movie with
Amityville?
No, not Amityville. Where like the two little blonde girls. And he's like, "Here's Johnny."
I don't know.
Oh, Jack Nicholson. The Shining.
Oh yeah. The Shining. Yeah.
That's what I felt like at first.
Oh shit.
But no, it was a really nice place and it was humble. It was very humbling.
It's quiet.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, it was like a party. There was like some senior citizens. They were ripping it up, like high on Jesus. These guys, and they stayed up like till like 3 a.m. partying.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. At least there's no booze, right?
Yeah, no. High on spirit. Yeah.
I went out to. I was at actually a meditation workshop.
Oh, how did that go?
On Sunday morning. So I went to a mindful creative meditation. I cannot say who put it on because they haven't given us permission to say who they are yet.
Okay.
But it was pretty good. We'll get into that because there was some pretty serious observations I had. The blog that will be coming out about this. So like for any of the listeners, Kenny and I will be doing basically a synopsis or a summation blog for the entirety of Sober October as well as this podcast.
It'll be on the website. www.lifeonlifestermspodcast.com.
Or even if you just Google Life on Life's Terms Canada, all of the blogs itself are CEOs, so like, or CSOs or whatever. So like you can get that content. So even if you like Google the episode name, you'll get the blog as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's get into what were your challenges again for Sober October? I can't remember exactly.
So I had the 30-day art challenge.
Yeah.
And take it easy on the weed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with my friend dying, straight up, the weed saved me.
Yeah. Okay.
So many times it's brought me from like a crying, broken down state in the last week to level-headed enough to where I can like get into my zone and do my 30-day challenge, which is art. Yeah. And it was really good to see that. Like when I went to the funeral on the weekend, my friend was doing some sick art right before he went, and I got to see that and take pictures of him.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
So. Let's get into a little bit of how did you manage the time? Because I remember that was a contentious issue.
100%, and it still is. Like I just find that if I have some downtime, and I have like a creative urge, I'll just pull out my pencil. So I bought a new book for the month.
Okay.
And just for like a sketching pad, I also bought a whole bunch of paints and canvases, and so like I did some really good pieces that I'm really proud of, and I've finished some that I started a long time ago, and And the tattoos that I got to put on people were great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like my 30-day challenge now for me has just created a new healthy habit in my life.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole premise, why I even wanted to start doing it. Like I was looking, like I just bought a whole bunch of tattoo gear and I'm like, I need to get better at art. Like I need to have this thing pumping out, making money for me. And like, cause that's what's fun. Yeah. So what I've noticed in the last 30 days is that every time I sit down to do art, I'm completely at peace. And whether or not like I was thinking about my friend prior, or I was just like stressed from like all the different things that I got going on in my life, if I'm sitting there doing art, I have no worries at all. I'm present in the moment, and I'm sitting there tapping my foot, happy, humming tunes in my head. Yeah. It takes away all worry and stresses. It's perfect.
So what's the preamble that like the ritual that you go through prior to sitting down and doing your thing?
I don't really have too much of a ritual. It's like, boom, I'm going to draw, boom, pull it out and start just going and just let my mind wander.
I kind of did that with music, but there is a preamble for me. I didn't recognize it until I actually really thought about what am I actually doing before I sit down with my guitar? Yeah. And there is a ritual, it's almost like a mind thing where I'm like, do I really want to play? Do I have the time to play? Am I going to be able to play more than 3 or 4 songs? Or am I going to waste away the afternoon playing my guitar if that's what I do? Right? Because obviously I have things to do, right? I'm not saying that playing guitar is a waste, but I know when I get into that zone, I'm not doing anything else but that.
Yeah,
right?
You're in jam zone.
Yeah,
jam mode.
It's very difficult to leave that, right?
Yeah.
So the preamble is almost these questions. Do I have the time to dedicate to it, right?
Yeah, well then I suppose I have one too when I'm trying to figure out what am I going to start drawing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of ask myself, what do I think I need to learn the most?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you recognize what that preamble is almost, or the beginning of that thinking, because that's really where you're going to go into like the comfort zone. Well, I wouldn't say comfort zone. That's when you're going to accept being uncomfortable because you're ready to challenge yourself, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I had learned as a musician was it's difficult getting on stage. Okay, it's difficult to perform in front of people. But the thing that helps us, and this is the secret to success for anybody who is going to be doing public speaking or anything like that, you need to talk about something that you like. So as a premise, and I'll paralleled, public speaker and musician.
So you got to play something you like.
Well, yeah, but just the instrument itself is something that you like, right? So like liking the instrument and being in love with that instrument and being able to perform with that instrument is what gets you past that stage fright.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because really, you're just in the zone, right? It doesn't matter.
You become one with the guitar.
And it doesn't matter the amount of people that are looking at you. That doesn't matter, right? Because the subject matter that you have on your lap or whatever it is what you're passionate about.
Did you ever just like go on you pull out a guitar and you just start playing and the music just comes through you and you're not playing any like pre-recorded song and you just put together like this beautiful melody?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that's channeling?
You know what I think sometimes? So like it didn't work like that in the beginning, right? Like in the beginning that didn't happen because you have to learn like chord structure and a whole bunch of other crap, right?
Yeah, but once that becomes subconsciously programmed and you just know it innately, do you ever feel like you're just channeling?
Well, I think sometimes I can definitely hear the music that I'm playing is parallel to music that I've heard, right? So like it's not far off. It's in a different sequence, right? And I might be picking it a little bit different or whatever. Yeah. But what I've also come accustomed to while playing is doing covers. I like taking other people's music and then doing it my own way.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that. Sure, it's the same chords and stuff, but I might speed it up. I might slow it down. I might sing it a little bit differently.
Where's your guitar?
I might do a whole bunch of different things, right? And I like expressing myself that way. I will say this: after doing heroin, I had a very difficult time writing music.
Really?
Yeah, that was
Jimi
really
Hendrix would say different.
That was really difficult. When I quit doing heroin, it was very, very difficult to write. And a lot of that is because you write, I hate to say it, you write really, really good on heroin. Like, it's amazing the stuff that you can crank out when you're high on that drug, specifically that drug.
Yeah.
I thought that marijuana.
The only time I've ever done heroin, music sounded so good.
Well,
it went through my body.
Writing lyrics and stuff on heroin was a whole new world. But then what I realized was, like, it wasn't heroin that was making me a great lyricist. It was actually, I'm a great lyricist.
Yeah.
The drug was just, all it was doing was it was taking down something of a wall. And now, being sober,
and then you felt really, really good about what you wrote after.
even when I heard it afterwards sober, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was still a good song. Now, though, being sober, I can write stuff and it's just as good as if I was high on heroin. Like, there's really no difference anymore. That was just one of the big things that I had realized, that it was a hurdle that I had to get over when it came down to writing music, being sober. It was very difficult. It actually gave me a lot of anxiety, and I realized that it was the anxiety that was sabotaging the ability to be able to write that music out. Like, that's what it was.
I can relate to something like that, because when I first went into jail after, like, before, and I was just strung out for days and days on meth and GHB. And then when I went to jail, my creative and artistic ability took like 6 months to come back.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is too the brain damage that we endure, right? And then we almost come to a place where it's like, I can't do anything without that drug, right? That's almost what happens, until our brain actually develops the ability to have normal dopamine levels.
Yeah.
And normal synapses levels, where we're actually able to be normally creative, right? So yeah, I think it's interesting to be aware that there is a creative process that happens before we actually sit down and we look at something. There's a preamble of thought, before we I think a lot of artists miss that. So to change gears a little bit, I think my two were to get more meditation this month, and to physical fitness, right? To drop some more weight and do more research within my dietary needs, right? So the meditation went really, really well. Will I continue that in my future? Yeah. I've already designated the hour every day where I shut my phone off, and that's when I do it. I'm going to keep that, because maintaining that has been a substantial change in my thought of detachment. I'm really, really able to keep a very subjective perspective on many, many things when I'm meditating more, and I make that a part of my life. I try to do it first thing in the morning now. I used to do it at the end of the day at night, and I found that at the end of the day at night, I'm just too tired.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm not really there wanting to meditate upon anything. I also meditated with a mala for really the first time outside of a rosary. Yeah. And the practice of the mala was really, really different for me. I was able to accept it and keep it not so offensive towards my Catholic roots, so to say. So I'm really, really excited. I'm really, really excited that I was able to do that. And I was also able to adopt the philosophy that the mala for me, like for instance, one of my malas
what's a mala?
So it's like
beads?
Yeah, it's those bead things, right? Yeah. I'll take a picture of it and we'll put it up on Instagram. So one of them basically is positivity for me, to keep my mind on positivity. But this is one of the things that I had heard from a Buddhist monk who I've mentioned in the blog. So I would suggest that you go over to that blog to see who I'm citing here. But one of the things he said was this: when you meditate, does it feel like a drop in the ocean? And are you meditating for you?
Wow, those are deep.
Because when he said that, it really resonated with me, right? And he said, the reason why you feel like your meditation isn't going anywhere is because you're meditating for you. Look, if you want to be positive for everybody around you.
Yeah.
Then it's no longer a drop in the ocean. You're with the ocean.
Wow.
Right? And when he had said that, it was like, that I can get behind. Right?
Yeah.
Because as much as I'm concentrating on acquiring positivity, right, and trying to resonate positivity,
Yeah.
Well, what's the practice of it in my meditation? It's to be positive with others, right? So I'm going to channel back to what we were just talking about with music and art.
Yeah.
Remember how we said we get into a preamble, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what that preamble does? That preamble in our mind puts us in a place where we're calm, cool, collected with a challenge that's coming to us, right?
Yeah.
How many times when you're faced with adversity, you're like, fuck, right? It can happen.
It can happen. Definitely.
And sometimes you get blindsided, right? If you can see right in that moment that, fuck, all you got to do is go back and look at it like, I'm going to draw. Or I'm going to create something. And if you can do that, you know what's going to happen? It's going to trigger your brain to release that gray matter. And once that gray matter is released, you're calm. You're cool.
That's what you talked about with Shapiro, right? Dr. Shapiro is the gray matter.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that in that podcast. But to be able to practice that, and that's why the other thing I would suggest anybody who's out there with a creative mind in the capacity of art or music or even meditating.
Writing.
Yeah, because we're writing quite often now with the blogs. And I'm starting to see it, the breathing rhythm. Right? If I start thinking about my breathing rhythm when I'm playing guitar, it's the same damn thing when I'm meditating.
Everything comes back to the breath.
For some. So this meditation that I was taken through on Sunday morning, they were trying to make the breath a 0. Okay, so when I was taught to meditate years and years ago, I think it was like 13, maybe 12 or something to get over exam anxiety, right? They didn't get us to zero in on the breath. They got us to zero in on the color gray within our mind's eye.
Yeah.
So like if I'm having insomnia, not even kidding you, all I have to do is meditate upon the color gray.
Snoozing.
Gone. I'm done in 15 minutes.
You go to ready test, meditate on gray, fall asleep.
Yeah, like I'm gone, right?
Yeah.
Or if I'm conscious right now, obviously I'm conscious right now, but if I'm conscious and then going into something, I'll close my eyes, I'll take 3 big breaths in, and right away my mind goes, gray. You need gray right now, and I'm calm, right? This is the same thing when I think about playing my guitar, calm, right? So that's what the meditation thing over the month, because I really started doing a lot of research of what and why and the different philosophies within meditation. And like I said, when that Buddhist monk had said, why are you meditating? Is it for you or is it for others? And when you're doing it for you, does it feel like just a drop in the ocean? He said, if it does, then I would suggest that you meditate for others. Because when you do that, then you're actually a part of the ocean. And you and I talked many, many times about contributing to the stream of life.
Yeah.
Well, how selfish is it to sit there for an hour and think about positivity for myself or my own success? It's great to visualize where you're going, but who are you going there with?
Yeah.
Right? And were they encompassed in that meditation? Were they encompassed in that vision? Maybe not. And if they weren't, well then what's really self-serving here? Right?
Yeah. So think about somebody else, you egomaniac.
Well, and I think that's the big kicker, right? A lot of people, when they think about meditation, it's the focus on self. And it's not a focus on self. It's a focus on how you can be a part, right?
That was a big thing. Have you ever seen that movie by Wayne Dyer, The Shift?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Like,
have you seen Shot Caller on Netflix?
No.
Holy shit!
I'll watch Shot Caller. You watch.
Yeah. Where did you see Shift, on YouTube or Netflix?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Okay.
The Shift.
I'll watch that.
Okay.
So, get your PTSD in check when you watch Shot Caller, because it's that. I wouldn't say it's politically graphic of what happens in jail.
Okay.
It's politically, and it's politically correct of what really happens in the joint. Like I watched it a couple times, and I needed to go back to some of my PTSD exercises after watching that movie. But I'll watch The Shift, and we'll talk about it on the next episode.
What's going on for next month? What's our theme?
Next month is Man's Month. Cancer of the ass.
Prostate
awareness.
Prostate awareness month.
Yeah.
It's Man Cave month.
Yeah. I think most of our listeners are men. Like if I'm almost positive most of them are men. The physical challenge. So I'll get into that a little bit. I had suggested that last week I was injured, which I was injured with my back.
You hurt your back.
So I realized that I have to change philosophy. I was listening to this guy Ferris on name drop Joe Rogan podcast, JRE Experience or whatever. And he said, like, are you, and it was interesting when he said it because it hit me kind of like a book in the head, where he was like, are you working out to your max every day? Sure, I was, right? I was doing as much as I could possibly do every time I worked out. And he goes, well, that's stupid. Right? That's dumb. Don't work out to your max every fucking day. That's ridiculous. Yeah. It's like professionals don't work out to their max every day. They take it easy. And they only train hard, which is true. They only train hard 2 or 3 weeks out before the fight. But the preamble up to the fight, they're training nice and light and easy because you don't want to injure yourself because you can't give max out. You give max out every day. What do you got left tomorrow?
Yeah.
Nothing. You just gave max out.
Yeah.
Right? So then I recognized, like I was doing the 3 and 1. That's not enough recovery time. I'm doing 3 hard days and then 1 day off and then back at 3 hard days.
No, that's ridiculous. I told you that wasn't enough recovery
time. It wasn't good enough. Right? So then this Ferris guy, the other thing that he had said too was like, start working out twice a day, lightly. Right? Don't max yourself out. Because if you can go twice a day, then it becomes fun. Right? So like, I love boxing and that's what I like doing. I'm not really a guy who likes lifting weights. I like doing push-ups. I like doing dips. I like lifting my own body weight. Right? Yeah. And then so I looked up like I do kettlebell stuff right now or whatever.
Yeah.
But lightly. Like I don't lift anything over 35 pounds for kettlebells right now. And one of the things that I had read was it was like, you're better off. Your recovery time lifting your body can recoup quickly over that as opposed to lifting outside weights.
Yeah.
Because it knows your body, right?
Yeah.
I was like, well, fuck it. Why the hell am I lifting more than what I need? I'm already 270 pounds. 270 pounds is a lot of body weight to move around, right?
Yeah.
So I cut that out. I just realized, and I said this a long time ago, that I'm working out for me now. I'm not working out because I'm going into a fight. I'm not working out for a competition or any of that. And I realized as this was all going on, I missed that. I'm not working out for a lifestyle change. I'm working out because I'm trying to get through this thing as fast as I possibly can and then rest upon my laurels. That's really what I'm doing because that's what I did before, right? Yeah. You work out really, really hard. You get to a fight, you do your fight, and then you take 2 months, 3 months off. That's literally what you rest upon your laurels for 2 or 3 months. And the first week going in the gym, you feel like a bag of fucking ass. Like you just hate it. You hate it.
Bag of deep fried dicks.
Right? So I recognized that that's where I was going wrong. And the beautiful thing about it was when I did the dietary research, I think my diet's pretty good. I mean, I'm not eating much carbs. I'm sticking to salads and meat.
Are you still fasting?
I still do the intermittent fasting at night. Yeah. And a big reason why that fits for my diet is because I'm a one big meal eater. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Right? I don't like peckish throughout the day. Fuck that noise. If I'm going to sit down, I'm going to sit down because I'm hungry and I'm going to eat. Right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I've also recognized is portion control even within eating like that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I have reined that in. But what I'm mostly grateful for is the flip of philosophy that I recognized. Because I think if I hadn't saw that, I would have just kept going until I basically got to a point where I hit my goal weight and then rested upon my laurels. Oh no, I'm good. And then start eating out. And the next thing you know, a fucking balloon up to another 100 pounds over again. Right?
Well, it's not like your partner here is a personal trainer or anything.
Well, no. I mean, I think it's one of these things that you have to learn on your own.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like addiction, right? You can be told things time and time again. And it doesn't matter until you recognize it. And then when you recognize it, then it makes more sense, right? You're more likely to accept it.
Well,
right?
If you ever want to do a calisthenic workout with just our body weight, I'm game.
Okay.
I'm game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know lots of good stuff.
If we can work it in where our schedules line up, because as you and I both know, we try to come together at least once or twice a week, you know?
Yeah. And it's hard.
Sometimes it's difficult, right? I mean, sometimes it is. So the weed thing, was there any point in the month where you were able to hit the brakes prior to the death?
Oh yeah. Like I didn't even smoke weed until the death. And then I was like, at the funeral, I was like, I seen somebody that I knew from, I was like, bro, I was like, where's the weed at? I got to stop being a mess. Mm-hmm. And it was like, all I had was just like one puff, and straight up, it just put everything at ease for me.
Yeah.
You know, like me and my friend that passed, like we used to blaze all the time, and it was like, he was right there with me, and it just put it at ease. And then I was able to like, I still cried after that. And like I wasn't like in a depressed mourning state. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was still mourning, but not in the depressed state of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's, death is a difficult thing to deal with.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's a difficult thing to deal with, especially in those circumstances. Right. So are you going to keep, I guess that's the big thing, right? Are you going to keep this time designated for your art?
Oh, absolutely. Like I really try to at least doodle every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's become something now where if I don't do it, I feel like I'm lacking something in my life. And I like that. Because like this is something that not only it's a healthy habit, it expands my mind. It makes, you know, with the gray matter, it's going to help me produce better results in other areas of my life, like even this show, to be able to come up with something to say continuously for an hour straight. It's going to help with my cognitive ability to do that, because when I sit down to draw something, it's like I'm in that meditative state and my hand is moving and my brain is still. I'm at peace. It's not wandering and thinking about tons of different things. It's just I'm just drawing a picture. All I'm focusing on is that picture in my head that I'm drawing on paper. Yeah, it's wicked.
Yeah, I think I'm going to, like I had said, I'm going to keep the meditative piece, and I may even engage more into some of the workshops that happen within my local area about it.
Yeah.
Big thing I recognized, and this might resonate with you actually, and I don't mean to break any anonymity if there's anybody from that workshop listening. But one of the things I kept hearing was they talked about their inner negative critic.
Yeah, the chatterbox.
Okay, so I don't agree with that philosophy anymore. I used to call it shitty committee.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to use it in this very, very wham bam kind of analogy. When I started realizing that I was getting overweight, like morbidly overweight, my shitty committee was saying, hey, you fat fuck, you need to go fucking do something. Right? And that really hurt. That hurt. I mean, I'm the best person at beating the living piss out of myself for no good fucking reason. Right?
Yeah.
But if you actually subjectively look at that shitty committee, guess what it's doing? It's telling you to recognize that you've gone too far down the line. Like, for instance, when you were an addict and you were using, shitty committee was like, you fucking useless fuck, you junkie piece of shit. Yeah. Well, guess what? The reason why it's doing that is because you've gone way too far down the line, right? And by going way too far down the line, the backup to that is, hey, guess what? You need an ass kicking.
So yeah, you kick your own ass. Yeah?
So I think one of the things to keep in perspective when shitty committee is happening, and I wrote a huge piece about this in the blog, is that that's innately your subconscious saying, you need to shape the fuck up now or else this is going to get way worse.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't have time to think about it, because one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to be lazy and not start something good, or you're going to rest upon your laurels after you've started it. And if you start resting upon your laurels after you started it, you're fucked, right? Like, oh, I've done it, I don't need to do it anymore, blah, 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 blah. Well, like I had suggested with my working out, resting upon my laurels is no good, because it's a life change for a life. It's like anything that's good. Change is difficult until eventually it becomes adopted.
Just so anybody doesn't know, rest upon your laurels means sitting on your ass.
Yeah, sitting upon your ass and saying, I've already done it. I don't need to do it anymore. I've already done it. It's concluded, right? Once you go to that place, you're not open. And this hit me too, like when I went to that meditation thing and I wrote about my preamble thinking before going to that thing. But one of the things that I had realized is that I need to be attached to nothing. As long as I'm not attached to anything, I can walk into any situation and be subjective about it, right? As long as I'm positive as long as I live in a friendly world, everybody is going to be friendly.
Yeah.
And it's my choice to live in that world. If I want to live in a world of adversity, everybody's going to be adverse towards anything that I have to say.
Yeah, we are the creators of our world, and we do so with our ideology or our perspective of it.
I think there's, to a degree, the line that's drawn is when you become a victim, right? And that can happen. Like, let's say you're walking down the street and some motherfucker punches you in the face. You're a victim, right? You have one of two choices. You can either fight back.
I always say that you must have done something that brought that upon you.
I mean, maybe.
I'm a big law of attraction guy.
Maybe. I think that there are sometimes just shitty things that happen to people. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a shitty person because something shitty happened to you. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of adversity through recovery. And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, I was a shitty person, but it didn't mean that day I was a shitty person, because that's when it stops, is that day. Like, what you've done in the past really doesn't matter, provided that day you stopped, right? It may come back to you, but the reality is you're going to deal with that adversity in a positive way if you decided that day, I'm not going through it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, for a long time in my early recovery, I felt like I was always in a hurricane. I'm not in a hurricane anymore. I'm not. And a lot of that test was, how much adversity can you take being positive? How can you do that? And what you're going to learn very, very quickly is how to detach very, very quickly. Because you need to detach not just from the people from your past, you need to detach also from the thinking of your past. You need to do the exact opposite of anything that you've ever done before. And as long as you can keep on doing that, time and time and time and time again, recognizing that the opposite of what you're innately wanting to do is the right thing, and what you want to do is probably the wrong thing, that's okay. Because that's acceptance of saying, I'm 180 degree changing direction from where I once was. Right? And that's okay to see that.
As long as we're better today than we were yesterday, we're doing good things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I definitely agree with that, because it all can change in a day. Like, it can all change in a day.
So this weekend when I was at the Star of the North retreat, it was cool because I got to sit down with the director for an hour, and so everybody knows she'll be coming on the show shortly.
Yeah.
And we went through like my belief system of like spirituality, where I was about that, my feelings and stuff, and then like the theme of my retreat was the discernment for the journey of life. So like how I make choices basically is what it came down to. And it's like how I made choices in the past, and it's like and that was my meditation. Like, that was the things I had to focus on. I had to do some readings out of a couple different books about making choices and like walking your path. And like, when you come to a fork in the road, why do you choose what choice you make? And like, I had to like look back on my past like big screw ups when I was at that fork in the road. Why did I choose to get in that high speed chase?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And lots of times what I came up with was that I would be feeling so good. I'm majority positive all the time. I always try to make myself feel good, And sometimes I would just feel so good that subconsciously I just had to go screw it up. I had to make myself feel shitty.
Yeah.
And so I had to do like a whole bunch of meditations about like, why was that? And like I came out with some pretty cool things personally, like that, just the awareness of that, like that's the process was big for me once I connected the dots in the past, because like for a long time I didn't even know why, right? But I think what I came up with was I was so afraid that I was going to screw it up and disappoint everybody that I went and disappointed everybody because I was afraid it was going to happen.
So I'll give you this for a little bit of food for thought that we can throw around. Remember we talked about practicing success and why it's so important to practice success, because I'm a self-sabotager too.
Yeah.
And you know when I'll self-sabotage? On the precipice of success. And the reason why I'll do that, so like let's use this podcast as an example. So today we're successful because we're doing something that we want to do, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm on the precipice of success and I haven't set up the studio yet, right? But all of a sudden I'll drop a microphone and that microphone doesn't work anymore. Now I've never dropped a microphone before, but all of a sudden I dropped this $300 microphone. Can I get a $300 microphone in the hour that it takes? No. I've kind of just screwed up the show, right?
Yeah.
So why did I do that? Well, is my subconscious problem? I mean, sure, shit luck, you can do stupid things, right? Like we've all had Butterfingers or whatever. Who I saw Butters. I don't know if you remember him. Anyways, I can self-sabotage in that manner, right? And the reason why I'm self-sabotaging is actually I haven't practiced success enough. I've majority in my life had to do things that I didn't want to do in order to make an earning. And now that I'm able to be successful in doing the things that I would like to participate in and still make an earning from, it's difficult to accept that because I don't feel, at times I hadn't felt good enough to be there. So where does this bring back to? Self-esteem. I always say that and I know you and I don't really agree upon this point, but this is why I would bat this around, is ego is a lead balloon. And it feels like sometimes you have to keep inventory of what ego means. And this is what it is. If there's anything that I learned between the difference between of ego and self-esteem is weightless. And I never have to remember all the things that make self-esteem. The only thing that I have to remember about self-esteem is I'm going to make the next goal, because that's the only thing that I have to focus on. With ego, I'll say this. I would take inventory like, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, and I'd have a list for you of all the great things that I've done in my life. With the self-esteem that I have today, I know today that I'm already successful. I know that I've already worked out today. I've already meditated today. So those 3 goals are down. And I've got a series of other goals lined up for the afternoon. And then when I go and write that inventory, so this is why I would ask you to check out that blog, because I really get into inventory and why that's so important at the end of the day. When I go write that inventory, the only question that really is asked is, what could I have done better today that I will do tomorrow? Right? That's the big one out of the 7 questions.
Wow.
Right? So that's the next goal for tomorrow. And you know how I know I can conquer that goal? Because I conquered the goals that I set out for today, which means what? I'm successful, and that is self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because I'm not resting upon any laurels. I'm not resting upon what I've done. I've rested upon what I've did. And tomorrow, I'm going to do what I need to do in order to succeed in those goals again. Right? That's why I say there's a difference between ego and self-esteem, because what ego is I need to keep a running inventory of all this stuff that I've done that says I'm a good person. Right? What self-esteem is I'm already a good person. I don't have fucking anything to prove to anybody. I don't have to sit there and say, well, I'm a good guy today because I do this, and this, and this. Doesn't matter. That's for shit. That's a big jerk off. You know what I mean? Really, it is.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because that's you giving yourself a verbal blowjob, really, at the end of the day. If you can sit there and say, well, I inside know I'm a good guy and I don't have to prove it to anybody. And people see that you're a good guy because of the way that you can be a leader without having to say any of it. You're just an exemplary of positivity. I don't have to say I'm a positive person. I damn well know it. Right?
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. And I think it's crazy the way how both of our journeys in this Sober October thing really lined up this way. We were not expecting at the beginning of this month that we'd be sitting talking about core issues again of self-esteem, success, you know what I mean? Self-sabotaging. Like, we didn't think that this is where that would be going when we even looked at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, no, but it's amazing how, we come back to these fundamentals that these fundamentals that we have now, we were weak with when we were fucked up and at our worst.
Yeah.
And like now, just to do a 30-day art challenge, it tests those fundamentals, but then in the end of the 30-day art challenge, for me, it strengthened them. Mm-hmm. Same with the meditation and the retreat and everything else. It's awesome, man.
What else did you experience at that retreat aside from the elderly ladies? Was the food good?
The food was pretty good, but like the one evening that I was there, it was like ham and peas, and it reminded me of a weekly jail meal.
Oh yeah, that's probably your.
But like
that's
it was
probably a you thing as opposed to a place thing.
Yeah, that was a me problem.
yeah. Room.
The room was good. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was really, really good. Yeah. There was a sink in there, and like, it kind of reminded me of like a spiffy jail cell.
Well, you got to remember that it's
bed
made.
Was really comfortable though.
It's made out of. So that used to be a nunnery, right?
Yeah.
So like, or a convent. That's the correct term. It was a convent.
It's an old building, but it's like crisp inside, and it's nice, and the showers were nice, and the bathroom was nice, and like.
And the big thing to remember too is, like, nuns and priests live in cells. That's what it's called. The rooms are called the cell.
Yeah.
Right? So you were actually, like, you're living where the old, like, before times.
From one cell to another, eh?
That was like, but remember how we were talking about before? Like, we need that solitude time. We need to be almost deprived of all that stuff, and then we can actually focus, right? Like, if there's any positive that came out of jail, it was that. You were able to take the hour and meditate whenever you wanted. Your time was really of your own when you got past all the
walls.
Yeah. And like the schedule and all that shit, right? Yeah. Like, really became your own. And mentally, I was saying this to somebody a little while ago, people like you and I need that. We need that seclusion. And so to go to a place where there's just a sink, and just a bed and nothing else in that room, except for like maybe if you brought a computer or a phone or whatever it is, or a book, right? You're back to a place where you're in a microcosm again. The difference is, though, this time you get to leave it.
Yeah.
And you get to subject yourself to that amount of time.
I got lots of work done, like for internal perspective stuff to even like external stuff, like writings and pictures.
Did you find it really holy roller, though? Like, aside from the other people that were there, right? When you were working with Lucy, who is the executive director for Star of the North, right?
Yeah.
Did you find it Jesus driven that way?
No, absolutely not. Like, they have an indigenous room there, and then like there's some themed like bedrooms.
Yeah.
Like, those were sweet. Next time I go there, I'm getting a themed room.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't. No, it was spiritually driven.
Yeah.
Like, that's why she just wanted to know like where I was and how comfortable I was hearing like her own spiritual path and story. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm totally open to anybody's spiritual path. The only thing I care about is that you have one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that if like you don't have a connection to something, or if you don't have an awareness that there is an intelligence out there, then I'm like, well, let me show you some science videos because that'll prove it.
Well, and I think there's also a thing too when you, like, again, back to our just a little bit before when we were saying like the ego. What's the difference between ego and self-esteem? Self-esteem is light, and ego is like a lead balloon. You have to keep inventory in order to keep ego going, and with self-esteem you don't. Well, the way how I would suggest even God in that same respect, or a higher power, is one, you can adore yourself But if you adore yourself, the issue with adoring yourself is you have to keep inventory of that.
And you die.
And the beautiful thing with God is that again and again, whatever that definition of God is, it can always provide you something within perfection because it's perfect for you. You could never be perfect as a human. It's not going to happen.
We're all perfect, Justin.
In an imperfectly way.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So like I think that's one of the pieces to really see, right? Would you suggest Star of the North to like any denomination, anybody who's
100%.
just 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Like just to go get away, like it's not expensive.
It's very economically
friendly. They have
friendly.
the sickest coffee machine ever.
It is nice. Yeah, it is nice. Yeah. Because I was the one who kind of picked this one out for you.
Yeah.
So like the reason why I had picked this out was I thought that you'd be able to fit into it really nicely, like the way how it was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to be Jesus or Holy Roller. I know you and we had a conversation outside of the show where I was like, it's not going to, I think even on the air last time, I said, it's not going to be all Holy Roller or whatever, right?
No, it was internal work.
And I think like anybody,
internal journey.
Like you can come here from Sweden, Switzerland, wherever, and go to that place as long as you're pre-booked, basically, because it does book up fairly quickly. Like I think all next week they're busy with some other people that are in there. They got the whole place taken.
They have like different groups going there. Yeah. They had like the like this Northern Alberta Indigenous Council there, having a meeting for business.
Yeah. How did you like the Indigenous room actually?
Oh, it was beautiful. Like I would like to just have an event there or a speaking engagement.
You notice how it's like in a longhouse? Did you recognize that?
Yeah, it was
like the chapel on one side is the other side of the longhouse, and then the other side to the west side is the Indigenous room.
Yeah,
right.
But it's cool, and like even the grounds that it's on, like there's a huge garden, and then there's like this old cemetery that's really creepy that I went and walked in at like 2 a.m.
Did you go to like the mausoleum or whatever where the rocks were in the back with like it looks like almost like an outside altar?
I seen it. I took pictures of it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
I didn't go out there.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I've hung out there a couple of times. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really did though. I needed it.
And so, like, what was the outcome on Sunday when you finally left? Like, what were the golden moments, so to say, the takeaways?
The takeaways, like when I went in, I wasn't like she asked me a couple questions, and I wasn't being like honest with myself, and that I got to like bring it out afterwards, like that I came to a conclusion about it.
Yeah.
And so like I found inner things with me that I need to work on, that I need to like bring to the front of the line in order for me to continue to practice success every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. This was not the path that we were looking at in the beginning of Sober October.
No, hell no.
You know, like I don't think we really had any predetermined or predetermined destination, so to say, that we were going to.
Yeah.
We knew that we were going to experience these things. For whatever reason, the temple didn't work out for me, but at least this workshop on Sunday worked out.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of us really knew that this is where we were going. You know, and I think it's pretty neat. I hope that any of the listeners out there, if you guys participated, you had the same kind of experiences as us. Because definitely, I will say this, when I injured myself, I was really upset with myself. I was like, that was a real hit towards, I didn't think I was actually going to be able to accommodate that part of my Sober October. And that had really upset me. That was really upsetting, and I'd write about that in the blog. I know you're going to be writing
2 days.
More of a synopsis about your Sober October too. I mean, I think it's one thing that we sit here and we talk about it on the show, but the blog itself expands a lot. Because we sat here, we talked about this stuff, and then we heard everything that we had heard back and forth going through what we went through over the month. And then when we go to write the blog, it's like, oh yeah, there was all this stuff too, right? Like there's add-ons almost that we just don't have time to get to on the show. So yeah, I'm really excited and happy that you had a good time at Star of the North, and yeah, it was a good time. I think all the way through the month for us, right?
Sober October. Woo!
Yeah,
until next year.
I'm looking forward to it for next year as well. Anyway, we're out of time, so if you want to wrap it up, that'd be cool.
All right, anybody, if you guys need a lawyer for any will, media, or estates law, check out our lawyer, Liam Connolly. Google his name, LiamConnelly at Connolly Law.
He's a great lawyer.
He's a good guy. Yeah, I want to thank you guys all for coming out. Check us out on the website, www.lifeonlifestermspodcast.com. Shoot us a message. We want to hear your feedback. Like, if you guys did any 30-day challenges, let us know. Mm-hmm. We can give you a shout out on the show. If you guys write us a good story about yourself and gives us a laugh, we'll definitely bring it on air. We'll message you back and make sure it's okay, and then we'll bring it on the show.
Yeah.
If you guys have any requests from us or ideas for our upcoming themed month of prostate awareness, shoot us a message on that as well, and we'd love to hear from you. We want to interact with you as much as possible. Also, check out our Facebook page, Life on Life's Terms Podcast, as well as the Instagram, Life on Life's Terms Podcast.
Yeah, and you can get all of that through the website. Go to the hotkeys.
Yeah,
you can get all of them
on our website.
So you can check that out again at www.lifeonlifestermspodcast.com and become a Pride member. There's going to be a thing on the website fairly quickly where you can just register your email, and you will be in the loop on everything that's happening through Life on Life's Terms. That website is your website. It's not ours. I just built it. That's it. The rest of it is all yours.
Yeah, use it. Hey guys, thank you so much.
Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.